With 15 books and a massive cast all coming together for an apocalyptic finish, the Wheel of Time fans have a lot to keep track of by the end of the series as the Dragon Reborn and his followers make their play to finally defeat the Dark One and win Tarmon-Garadon. Surprisingly, many of the heroes of the series do survive the events of the last battle, although none survive unscathed. The Amazon Prime adaptation is still a long way off from even hinting at the climax of A Memory of Light, even if the Wheel of Time Season 3 does cover 3 books at once. Entire beloved moments from the Wheel of Time books may not happen, for the sake of translating it to screen. The show may not even wind up with an ending that's accurate to the books. But for now, we know how the books end, or at least, how the story finishes for each Wheel of Time character, as there are no beginnings or endings to the Wheel of Time. 1. Rand al'Thor, the Dragon Reborn. As the prophesied Dragon Reborn, Rand's part in the Wheel of Time ends as was foretold. In the lead-up to the last battle, he gathered all the rulers of the Westlands and bound them to his will, forcing them to sign his treaty, the Dragon's Peace, before he would agree to face the Dark One. He even made the Seanchan agree to the peace and provide reinforcements on the eve of the last battle. Rand did battle with the Moradin and Dark One in the Pit of Doom beneath Sheol Gul, and although his victory was hard-earned, it was still a victory. The shadow was sealed away outside of the pattern again, as it was before used therein, and the companions opened the bore, and the last battle was won, but the dragon's wounds and exertion had ruined his body and he staggered out of the pit, dripping blood and carrying Moradin's equally wounded form. Despite the best efforts of the Aes Sedai, Rand's body died shortly after that, yet the link forged between Rand and Moradin's souls had an unexpected effect. They had switched bodies as they both lay near death, so that it was Moradin who died. Rand, in Moradin's body, woke up and slipped away while everyone watched his pyre burn in one of the Wheel of Time book's most memorable moments. His lovers, Minute, Elaine, and Aviendha, could all feel he was still alive, and he knew he would see them again, but for now, he was content to simply wander, no longer under the weight of being the Dragon Reborn. 2. Egwene Ulvere, the greatest Amyrlin seat. Egwene, whose story in the Wheel of Time book saw her elevated to the Amyrlin seat in Book 6, Lord of Chaos, went into preparations for the last battle at odds with Rand, believing that the Aes Sedai should be at the forefront of the fight. She attempted to undermine him during the debate over the Dragon's Peace, only relenting when Moiraine intervened. At the outbreak of the last battle, Egwene surrendered control of the forces of the Aes Sedai to Mat and flung herself into battle. Almost shattered by her beloved Warder Gaean's death at the hands of the Forsaken Demandred, Egwene continued to cut through the armies of the Shadow until she came up against another Forsaken, the traitorous Emhale. As she wove her own power against the Forsaken's balefire, she realized how to create a weave opposite to balefire's pattern-shattering brightness and used this new weapon, the Flame of Tar Valon, to kill Emhale, turning his body to crystal. Then, realizing she was already on the brink of burning herself out with too much of the power, Egwene Ulvere used every drop of Saidar she could reach to devastate the Shadow's channelers with the new flame. Although she was consumed by her own channeling, she annihilated hundreds of the foe in an instant in a wave of crystalline brilliance, sealing the cracks in the ground made by Emhale's balefire and helping turn the tide with her final sacrifice, Nynaeve Ulmira, Queen of Malkia. Nynaeve was one of the 2 Aes Sedai who accompanied Rand into the Pit of Doom for the last battle, alongside Moiraine. It was her strength and wisdom that helped support the dragon in his final conflicts with Moradin and the Dark One, and she was able to flee the pit once the Dark One was imprisoned again. Although deeply upset that she could not heal Rand's broken body, and doubly so that Egwene died on the field of battle without her, Nynaeve was grateful that her beloved land survived. Together, they donned the crowns of Malkia and set off to rebuild the fallen kingdom as the blight receded. Lan Mandragoran, King of Malkia. Lan began the last battle by finally allowing the Golden Crane, the Battle of Malkia, to fly behind him as he rode to Tarwin's Gap in hopes of slowing the torrent of shadow spawn that had amassed at the edge of the blight. At the head of a massive army of Borderlanders, he repeatedly defied the odds, at one point even single-handedly slaying a pair of Myrddraal. Although they were forced into a fighting retreat back through Sheena, Lan and his army forced the Shadow to pay for every inch of ground, and as his army finally began to succumb to attrition, Lan decided to sever the head of the serpent and rode out to challenge Demandred, the Forsaken general. Although at a huge disadvantage against the ancient channeler, Lan's almost preternatural skill with a blade kept him alive long enough to realize that a traditional duel couldn't be won. Instead, he used the technique of sheathing the sword, which he taught Rand back in the beginning, and allowed Demandred to land a near-fatal blow on him in order to find an opening, neatly piercing the Forsaken leader through the throat. Lan's victory rekindled the morale of the forces of the dragon, and as he stood holding Demandred's severed head high, the Shadow's armies broke and fled. Healed by one of the loyal Asherman, Lan was then taken to meet Nynaeve at Thakandar, where they donned the crowns of Malkia together and set off to reclaim his lost birthright.